us. Zoran Mamdani's win in the New York City Democratic mayoral primary meant hope, meant excitement, meant joy. But it also meant that Republicans would be bringing out some racism and Islamophobia we haven't seen in a long time. And that is exactly what they just did with the most insane move. Yet in response to Mamdani's historic win, the threat of deportation. Yes, threats of deportation are coming after Donald Trump's insane meltdown that we are going to get into. But before we do, I want to start with Zoran talking about his faith and what it means in his life.
New York, as you well know better than anyone, you've probably had food from every single culture in New York, so there's that. But it is a very diverse city. There's a huge Muslim American population in New York City as well. You would be, if you're elected, and you've got a ways to go here, but the first Muslim American mayor of New York City. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot. You know, I think about my grandmother Kulsum and my grandfather Yusuf and how they taught me from a young age that to be a good Muslim is to be a good person. It's to help those in need and harm no one. And ultimately, I've sought to do that over the course of my life, and especially in a time when the mere mention of being Muslim is seen as if it is a slur. It is also an opportunity for me to introduce the fact that being Muslim is like being a member of any other faith. It is believing and belonging in a notion of equality and in solidarity. And I know that it is so meaningful for the million Muslims that call New York City their home to see the fact that representation can be something that exists not just across the 5 boroughs, but also in City Hall.
It's been really sad, but more so funny to watch how MAGA has tried to spin up so much hate against Zoran and the way that they've tried to kind of turn him into a caricature of all these evil, scary left-wing radical ideas. They're always trying to fearmonger about when in reality they're incredibly appealing policies. It's the reason he won his election, screaming that free buses and childcare are coming to New York. Doesn't really strike fear into most of our hearts, but if Fox is going to continue to try, and before we get into what the MAGA Republicans who are elected are doing, I want to see what the MAGA Republicans who are paid to spew propaganda are saying.
So he gets into the city hall and then what? He's just going to attack the country, cops and capitalism? He's just going to cause more crime and chaos. He's going to turn the prisons inside out, and he's going to turn Whole Foods into no foods. This is what happens when you let the wacky wing of the Democrat Party run wild. This is what the Democrat establishment's been trying to keep a lid on for decades, since Occupy Wall Street. Biden tried to keep a lid on it. Cuomo couldn't keep a lid on it. This is the Bernie bro, Dave Hogg, AOC faction that's now going to run wild all over the place. And you're basically giving this I guess he's a Muslim communist from another country. City Hall in the best city in the world. This is the financial capital of the world. It's the biggest city in America. And you're going to run a communist out. Mm-hmm. I thought I was right when I said we'd hit rock bottom with Bill de Blasio. I was wrong. And it takes a big man to admit they were wrong. But I was wrong. And so this guy is going to do his thing. And thank God I left for Jersey.
Doesn't Jesse Waters just sound silly? Like all of these accusations of, the prisons are going to be led open like Donald Trump did with 1,500 cop-beating insurrectionists. Mamdani is promising free stuff, but he's going to break those promises like Donald Trump did when he said that your groceries would cost less. He's a liar, like Donald Trump was when he said, no new wars. No Zoran has the record of delivering in the state assembly that he will be taking to Gracie Mansion when he is mayor of New York, and Donald Trump is clearly not happy that Zoran will also be standing up to him. It's why he made this post, and right after it, we saw insane threats of deportation come yesterday. We saw Trump write, it's finally happened, the Democrats have crossed the line. Zoran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Dem primary and is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. He looks terrible. His voice is grating. He's not very smart. He's got AOC plus 3 dummies all backing him. And even our great Palestinian senator, crying Chuck Schumer, is graveling over him. Yes. This is a big moment in the history of our country, so it was no surprise after Zoran's win that Donald Trump would try to insert himself into the conversation and attack him. What was most surprising is that he didn't even have a nickname. You didn't have a nickname for him, Donald. You couldn't have called him, Mamdani the commie. You couldn't said someone suggested the Zoradical left. Which I love that I want to be a part of the Zoradical left. That sounds great. But a MAGA congressman saw this post from Trump and thought he could score some points with him. And so he sent a letter to Pam Bandy. And yeah, let's just take a look at what it says. Republican calls on Trump, AG Pam Bandy, to denaturalize and deport Zoran Mamdani over rap lyrics. A Republican congressman has called on Attorney General Pam Bandy to deport New York City mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani, and a letter published Thursday afternoon. Andy Ogles cited lyrics from a rap song Mamdani made in 2021. In the song, Mamdani references the Holy Land. 5 members of the Muslim charity organization, the Holy Land Foundation. The 5 men were convicted in 2008 for providing material support to Hamas. The families of the convicted, as well as some of the human rights groups, have questioned the ruling and called for the release of the men. Ogles argued that Mamdani reference it to the Holy Land 5 could be grounds for his denaturalization. Ogles also referred to Mamdani as Little Muhammad and claimed that he was an anti-Semitic socialist communist who will destroy the great city of New York. The Islamophobic attacks will never stop, but this one is just gross, to take rap lyrics from 2021 and to try to spin that up as a reason that he should be deported. Donald Trump incited an insurrection against our government and tried to have his vice president killed. That's not a rap lyric. That's a thing that happened. He shouldn't have been allowed to run for president. He should be in jail right now. And you're going after Zoran. You're trying to make up all these ridiculous claims and have him deported. This is how terrified MAGA is of the grassroots movement this campaign has built. And honestly, there's a lot of establishment Democrats who are as well. It is my opinion that they should stop being afraid and start embracing, because this is the way forward. And Bernie Sanders agrees, and he said so right here. And the wrong takeaways, I've seen them online. The Democrats need to spend more time on social media. This was a social media campaign, and while I agree that Sauron had great social content, it wasn't just about the highly produced